I have never been to war, but my heart is so beat up, I'm certain I have a Purple Heart. Because if it's not people who love like me in a nightclub, if it's not people who look like my friends in a grocery store or a church, it's students who look like mine. As a child of the 90s, I have never known schools without active shooter drills. I have never known classrooms without a red dot. As a teacher in 2022, I have earned my Purple Heart. I have been on the front lines. Senator, where were you? If your place of employment doesn't practice active shooter drills, if your place of employment has had one active shooting to my 490, I am not interested in your opinions on gun legislation. Because when I walk into a classroom, the first thing I notice is the best place to hide my students. If you've never seen desks as a barricade, you have no right to speak on this floor. When my students walk into the classroom, I don't know if they'll know how to tell their times tables, but I know they will know how to shrink themselves in ways the gun lobby's influence never has. I always lock my classroom door from the outside. I don't want to have to think about logistics when 30 lives are in my hands. I say it's because I'm from Oakland. The truth is, it's because I'm a teacher. My key has more will to protect my kids than the politicians in DC do. And the truth is, I calculate how quickly I can shut my door more often than admin does the difference between my pay and the cost of living. When I start the school year, I don't know if my students will know the sounds their letters make, but I know that they will know how to huddle. And I know that they will know how to practice being silent in order to stay alive. And I'm always fairly confident every legislative session will mute the sounds of 5-year-old bodies hitting the floor and move forward anyway. When I look at my students, I don't know if they'll know how to tell time on an analog clock, but I know that they will know how to hide in more than one closet. I don't know what my fight or flight response is, but I do know that you first run. I know you then hide, and if that's not enough, you fight. I do know that mass shootings might as well be included in my history curriculum. I know that the Second Amendment and the right to an AR-15 is more important than my students' right to life. I know that citizen access to an assault rifle is a uniquely American quirk. I know that England doesn't have mass shootings. I know that Japan doesn't have mass shootings. I know that Australia and New Zealand and Bangladesh and Russia and every other country still has guns, but somehow manages not to have mass shootings. I don't know if my sore throat is from COVID or from being unable to stop crying. I don't know how to decide whether to keep my door open or closed, because if I'm not on the front lines of the US war on school children, I am on the front lines of a global pandemic. And I know that vaccines and masks have been made political. And I also know that mass shootings often come in clusters, and churches and schools have never been safe for as long as I have been alive. So when I start in August, I start with thoughts and prayers and hope that it's enough to make it to June alive.